So the Lawbreakers Open Beta has been live this past week, and I got the chance to play the game, and I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be buying it once it comes out in August. But the thing is, I didn't expect to enjoy it, at least not as much as I did, and I doubt most people did either, and therein lies the reason that I think this game will quote-unquote fail. Now, if you haven't seen or played the game before, Lawbreakers is a team-based shooter where you can play multiple different heroes and fight over a central objective that changes based on which map you're playing on. That might sound pretty familiar. See, when I first saw the game, I was pretty hesitant to try it out because at first glance it just looked like an Overwatch clone with graphics closer to Call of Duty. The biggest difference in the gameplay on the surface are the gravity mechanics, where certain parts of the map have lower gravity and you can use weapons and abilities to fly around, sort of like that area on the Horizon map in Overwatch. These comparisons probably aren't helping. That zero gravity mechanic piqued my interest enough to get me to try it out, and when I did, I discovered that it's really nothing like Overwatch. It's a lot more fast-paced, which is saying something given that Overwatch is already an extremely fast-paced game, and accuracy with weapons almost always takes a front seat in fights and Lawbreakers, where in Overwatch positioning and hero matchups decide fights a lot more often. Even after playing Lawbreakers for only a few rounds, I wasn't even considering the Overwatch comparison anymore, and simply enjoying the game for what it is. But that is going to be the developer's biggest hurdle when they're trying to make this game a success, simply getting people to play the game in the first place. Starting a new game actually embodies quite a bit of risk. If the game isn't free to play, you have to initially spend money, sometimes a decent amount of money, just to try it out, and if you don't like the game, there isn't always a guarantee you'll be able to get that money back. But even when the game is free, like the Lawbreakers beta, there are still a few risks. You have to take the time to download the game, and set aside a few gigabytes of space for it, which for some people is pretty tough to do. And even once you have the game opened and ready to go, you still have to invest a fair amount of time into it, at least enough time to get some sense of the mechanics if you really want to give the game a fair chance. And at the end of all that, if you discover that you don't like the game, it was all for nothing. Simply starting a new game is already hard to do, but if we see a game and figure we already took a risk on a game exactly like this, why would we do it again? This is one of the biggest reasons I think Lawbreakers will end up failing. The target audience of Lawbreakers are hardcore shooter fans, people who played Quake, Unreal Tournament, and the old Call of Duty games and miss the feel of those old games. And I'm willing to bet that the majority of that audience have already tried Overwatch, given that it's by far the most popular shooter on the market right now. And whether or not they liked Overwatch, when looking at Lawbreakers, they still might feel like they've already seen this game and won't give it a fair shot. In reality, Lawbreakers will appeal to fans of old precision shooters a lot more than Overwatch will, in my opinion. In fact, when comparing Lawbreakers to modern day shooters, it's a lot closer to another recent release, Titanfall 2, than it is to Overwatch. A lot of you may not really get that comparison, because not many people played Titanfall 2, and if you think back to its release, there was one pretty big reason why. Titanfall 2 was released right in the middle of the release of Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. This was also in late October, just before the start of the holiday season. The vast majority of people aren't willing to spend $180 to get 3 AAA games in 1 month, especially just before they know they're going to be spending a lot of extra money during the holidays. Most people decided if they were going to pick up one of the big AAA shooters, they were going to go with the 2 more well-known franchises, and never give Titanfall 2 a chance, despite it being quality-wise right up there with the other 2. Now think about the release date of Lawbreakers. It comes out August 8th, almost exactly a month after the end of the Steam Summer Sale. There are some gamers out there who only spend money on games twice a year, during the Steam Summer and Winter sales, and just about every Steam user spends a ton of money on games during those sales no matter what. Imagine spending possibly several $100s on games and then buying a new release for an extra $30 to $40 immediately after. Not to mention, August also falls right before the start of the swarm of AAA games that come out around October and November. Most people simply don't have money set aside to buy extra games during that time of year. Couple that with many people's assumption that they've basically already bought the game, and it's pretty easy to see why Lawbreakers is likely to fail. Now don't get me wrong, I definitely don't want the game to fail. I'm loving it so far and I would really like to see as many people playing it as possible when the game comes out, but given that the developers have said that they are fully aware of the risks their game is taking, it doesn't really seem like they're doing all that much to ensure their game sells enough copies to support a multiplayer only game, which we've seen time and time again is a pretty difficult thing to do.